What the truck is this? It's the Deepal E07 and it's coming to Australia. This transforming SUV ute is one of the most intriguing new models I've ever come across, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this review here in China, where I'm getting to test drive it ahead of its arrival down under at the end of 2025. So please subscribe, please ring that bell, and let's take a look at it. Pricing could be a big consideration for the Deepal E07. It's a fully electric SUV style coupe ute, and there's nothing else quite like it. So who knows what it'll cost, but it does have a fair amount of standard spec and tech to make it seem like it could be a pretty good value offering no matter what the price is. So you've got things like full LED lighting, that funny little color screen on the front. We won't get that because of Australian design rules, but we will be getting these 21-inch 3-spoke wheels with aero covers. They look awesome. We've also got roof rails. We've got the very, very clever tailgate section with electric glass opening and also an electric tailgate opening system too. Plenty of features on the inside, a 15-inch touchscreen media system with your smartphone stuff in mind. Sat nav, there's dual zone climate control, heated and cooled front seats, and plenty more features, all standard in this model lineup. Well, that's what we're expecting anyway. What price should it be? I'd love to know what you would be willing to pay for a vehicle like this. Hit me up in the comments, and I guarantee that Deepal's Australian team will be reading those comments. And also, let's talk about some alternatives to this, because there's nothing else like it, but there are some things that you might otherwise want to think about. So you're thinking you want an electrified ute? Well, the best option is the BYD Shark 6. It is a much bigger, much different type of vehicle to this, but let me tell you, it doesn't miss when it comes to the standard spec. It's a really impressive price as well, and it's super duper practical with a big tub and some decent payload considerations, not class leading and not class leading towing either, but it could be a really great lifestyle ute if that's what you're looking for. If that's not what you're looking for, maybe you're thinking about a very efficient SUV, well, maybe have a look at the plug-in hybrid BYD Sea Lion 6. It's one of my favorites in the segment. Could be a very good choice if you are thinking of going electric, but you're not completely convinced that you're ready to go diving into the full EV pool. But hey, there's really just nothing else quite like this in Australia. In other markets, there are vehicles like the Santa Cruz from Hyundai and the Maverick from Ford. They are both compact crossover style pickup models, but this, well, it's going to set the standard in Australia in its own segment, which is kind of cool, isn't it? This transforming ute is unlike anything else. Obviously, in terms of the design, it's kind of coupe SUV-ish, but very, very different in terms of the rear end. We'll get to there in a sec, but I want to show you the length of this vehicle. It is more than 5 meters long. I'll put all the dimensions on your screen now so you can see for yourself. And look, I think that it is one of the most striking pieces of automotive design that I've come across. It's not going to be to everyone's taste. I totally get that, and that's totally fine. But to me, after spending a bit of time over the last couple of days seeing these in the wild, I have totally come around to it. I think it's really, really cool. Now I want to show you at the back here, you do have a button underneath here. You press it once and look what happens. Your rear glass will open up and that top glass will slide forwards for you. Now that does offer you a ute style rear end and access to the rear like that as well. But if you want to open it up completely, you push this button here, that will open up the glass all the way, and it really does give you a ute style amount of space. Now I'm going to put some dimensions on your screen in a sec. Let me just press this button over here and that will open the tailgate, which is electric as well. And yes, that is heaps and heaps of space in the back. Now the payload is not necessarily ute-like, but it's going to be big enough and handy enough for you to run around to the shops to get your IKEA stuff. And if you're thinking, oh, I'm not so sure that there's enough room in the back there, I've got a trick to show you in a sec, but let's look at some of the features in the very back first. So you've got a hard surface on the bottom, there's durable materials in the back to keep things, well, from being damaged too much. You've got a mesh section over there to keep things in place. There are some hooks on the side as well, and there's a vehicle to load charging port in there as well, so you can use the battery pack to charge things up if you're out camping or on the job site. And an elasticated strap there, just ignore that piece of finishing tape. This car is brand new. Now, let's look under the boot floor. This could be the big consideration here. Looks like there's enough space to fit a spare, but this particular car comes with a tire repair kit. Hopefully there will be a spare. Hopefully. We'll have to wait and see. There will be a tub liner though. That's something that Deepal in Australia has confirmed they will be offering. Now let me show you that trick that I was talking about. If I jump into this back seat here, if I can get my hand around this handle, I'm always struggling with these handles. You can wind down the window by pressing this button here, or put it back up if you want to. So that's neat. But let me fold down the seat and show you what that does. Rightio, so the seat is down and that opens up the entire space there for you. Obviously you probably want to put some kind of netting in between there so you don't get things bashing into the front, but it does improve the cargo capacity significantly. I'll put the figures on your screen now for it with the seats down, and honestly it is a surprisingly practical and very novel approach to what a ute or an SUV could be. Now let's jump inside and see what it's like. So here's your point of view perspective of the interior of the Deepal E07, and I've got to say it's familiar compared to some of the other models that you might have come across, but it's also with its own design vibe, and I really think it's quite an impressive thing. Now it's marketed under a different brand here in China, but it does look very, very tidy, and this two-tone finish is gorgeous in my opinion. It's very orangey brown, but I do like it. You've got some pretty simplistic controls on the steering wheel. You've got your gear selector up there, and you've got your blinker and light switch over there. And on the screen, you'll control a lot of the elements of this car. I don't have time to go through everything with you right now, and it's not in English anyway, but just know that just like most other new models from China, it is a software-derived vehicle, so pretty much everything has to be done through the screen, and that might get on your nerves if you're not a tech-savvy person, but it is a very nice looking screen. There's a decent amount of usability to it as far as I can tell, and it's very similar to some of the other models that you might have come across, with vent controls on the screen and so forth to make it feel a bit more high-tech. Your seat controls are on there too if you want to adjust your seat heating and cooling as well, because it's got both of those features in this model. And yeah, you've also got electric seat adjustment, so I can quickly just lower the seat down and get into a more comfortable position, and I think it's a very enjoyable experience up front with good storage on offer. And if you're wondering what are those little things there, they're actually little perfumes, which is kind of weird but cool. USB ports down there, wireless charger there for your phone. There's a decent storage tray there, good size cup holders, a openable section between the seats, which is very deep and accommodating, and bottle holders in the doors. And look at these seats. I think they look fantastic. They feel really comfy as well. And generally the vibe in here is excellent. There's one thing that I'm not sure we'll get in Australia. It's a flip down screen. I'll put some footage of it actually open on your screen now. It's very interesting. And just like the previous S07, there's a little camera up there so you can do selfies while you're driving or something. Auto dimming rear view mirror, sun visors with illuminated vanity mirrors, and a big head-up display. Now that might be something that you have to get used to. There are no dials in front of you here, which might be an issue for some, but that display is actually very, very crisp and big. And there's plenty of info available on that screen as well if you need it. Now, the general feel, the fit and finish is good as well, and I am impressed. But let's check out the backseat space and see if it's impressive too. This seat right here is set for my driving position. I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. And look, legroom is never really an issue in Chinese vehicles. They seem to nail that. Lots of legroom, lots of foot room, heaps of knee room. And you might be surprised, this coupe style ute SUV thing has heaps and heaps of headroom as well. So don't go thinking that this is going to be a compromise in terms of the space on the inside, because it's really bloody not. It's actually quite impressive and quite roomy feeling and airy, despite the fact it's got one of those dark headliners, which I don't necessarily like. And it does have a big panoramic glass roof too, but it's not open at the moment, obviously. The shade's in place, but hey, it's just really interesting, this design. So let's have a look at some of the storage considerations. You've got bottle holders in the doors. I love the fact that you've got nice soft finishes throughout the back here. There are directional air vents, USB ports, as well as that little window winder as well. And if you have kids, you'll have ISOFIX points in the window seats and top tethers as well, and a flip down armrest too. So all of it seems to be very well considered, nicely appointed, and extremely comfortable too. Under the bonnet of the E07, there is a massive storage area with drainage, which is really, really handy. Imagine filling that one up with ice and cold drinks out camping. Could be a good thing. But let's talk about the powertrain stuff, shall we? So the entry-level version sold in some markets, the rear-wheel drive, the single motor model, has 252 kilowatts and 365 newton meters, and it can do 0 to 100 in 6.7 seconds. That's pretty bloody quick, people. And then there's the four-wheel drive dual motor version with 440 kilowatts, 645 newton meters of torque, and it can do 0 to 100 in less than 4 seconds. That is exceptionally quick. Now there's also a range extender model which might come, we'll have to wait and see, and the petrol motor in that model acts as a generator for about a 40 kilowatt hour battery pack, meaning 200 kilometers of driving range or thereabouts on the Chinese testing cycle, and about 1100 Ks of total driving range. And it's with rear or all-wheel drive. Do you reckon that the range extender version would be a good choice for Australians? Have your say in the comments. There are two different batteries on offer in this model range in parts of the world, but it's likely we will just get the big battery, the 89.98 kilowatt hour NMC battery pack, and it is going to have pretty good driving range. So there's a single motor version at 560 Ks WLTP, 520 WLTP for the dual motor all-wheel drive, and it's built on an 800 volt architecture, so that means really, really fast charging. Now let's look at the charging port here and see what it's like. So this isn't necessarily representative of what Australia will get, but we will get 7 kilowatt AC. Now that's not necessarily brilliant, but the DC factor will be good, up to 240 kilowatts, which should mean a 30 to 80% charge in about 15 minutes. So from the range perspective, from the charging perspective, it seems like it could be a pretty good choice. Now, let's go drive it and see what it's like. So we're driving the E07 on the test track right now over some very broken, unpleasant surfaces, and this is sort of replicating what you might see in real world driving. In fact, the proving ground here has a really good mix of different surfaces and stuff that you will encounter in a lot of situations. This one is like one of those roads that you drive on that has tree roots that's cracked everything on the surface, and it is pretty unpleasant, but this car is doing a really good job of keeping things pretty settled and pretty comfortable. Despite the fact it's got 21-inch wheels with pretty low profile tires, it does have a very good comfort to it and reasonably good body control as far as I can tell so far as well. And I think the other thing to consider here is that it does have pretty light steering. It doesn't feel like a ute to drive. Obviously it's not a real ute, but it is certainly something that's a bit of a crossover between the two genres of SUV and ute, but so far feeling pretty SUV-ish. This E07 that I'm driving right now is the dual motor all-wheel drive version, so it has plenty of poke. The 0 to 100 for it is less than 4 seconds. I'm not going to do super duper speed now, but I'll give it a bit of a poke. I've been told to slow down. Okay, I'll slow down. But it is definitely a different kind of experience. If you've never had a dual motor all-wheel drive electric vehicle experience, when it comes to the acceleration, it does actually push you back in your seat. One thing I've noticed definitely about this vehicle is that it does have quite a touchy throttle, so you've got to be quite sensitive with your applications in terms of putting your foot down, because it does get away really quick, and obviously that'll depend on which drive mode you're in as well. There are a few different drive modes to choose from, and it does have adjustable suspension as part of those drive modes as well. So all of that is something that I can't wait to explore when it arrives in Australia. It does seem straight off the bat like this is going to be a compelling choice in terms of the drive experience. Hopefully they get the safety systems right as well. Obviously this is not your average SUV in terms of the design. The swoopy roofline does have an impact on your visibility when you're glancing over your shoulder, for instance. There's not much that you can do in terms of vision, but it is pretty good in terms of the technology that's built in to help you see around this vehicle a bit better. So you do have a really great surround view camera system, you've got the auto dimming rear view mirror, no camera mirror, which might be something you want to keep in mind. And when you look back, it does sort of remind me of a previous gen Honda Civic hatch. But honestly, I was expecting to be, well, disappointed when it comes to the visibility in this vehicle, but it's actually not as bad as I was expecting, because you can see more than you might expect. I've been absolutely blown away by this, people. I think that this could be a game changer in the Australian market. It's not a ute, it's not an SUV, but it's a bloody multi-tool. I've actually dubbed it the multi-truck. I think it could be a fantastic choice for people who are looking for something that does things differently, fully electric with that kind of EV driving range and the comfort and features that this thing offers. I'd love to know what you think it should cost. So please have your say in the comments section below. And if you haven't, please subscribe. It does help a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see ya when I see ya.